Welcome back to Rare Coin HQ, where ordinary coins can sometimes hide extraordinary stories. Today we're looking at 5 wheat pennies that many people have seen before, but very few have examined closely. These old 1-cent coins may look worn, dark, or heavily circulated, yet some examples have surprised collectors with values that reach far beyond their original face value. From the Great Depression era to the years following World War II, these wheat pennies traveled through countless hands and witnessed important moments in American history. Most people see them as old pocket change. Collectors see them differently. They look for small details, rare varieties, minting mistakes, and hidden clues that can transform an ordinary penny into a remarkable discovery. In today's video, we'll explore 5 fascinating wheat pennies, learn what makes them special, uncover the features collectors search for, and reveal how some rare examples have reached astonishing values. One of the coins on today's list has a story that surprises even experienced collectors, so make sure you stay with us until the very end. Now let's start with the first coin. This first coin is a great example of why collectors never ignore old pennies. The 1935 wheat penny may seem like a simple 1-cent coin from the past, but some collectors spend years searching through collections hoping to find an exceptional example. At first glance, this particular coin looks like an ordinary circulated penny. It shows signs of use from many years in commerce, yet it still holds enough detail to tell an interesting story. The more you learn about this coin, the easier it becomes to understand why wheat pennies remain among the most popular coins in American collecting. To appreciate this coin, it helps to step back into the year 1935. America was still dealing with the effects of the Great Depression. Families worked hard to stretch every dollar, and even a single penny had real buying power. People saved money whenever they could, and coins passed through countless hands as the nation slowly worked toward economic recovery. Every coin carried a purpose, and the humble wheat penny became one of the most familiar pieces of money in the country. The 1935 wheat penny was struck without a mint mark, meaning it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During that year, millions of pennies entered circulation and quickly became part of daily life. Children carried them to local stores, workers received them as change, and families dropped them into jars for savings. Most people never imagined that decades later collectors would be carefully studying these same coins under magnification. When you look at the design, it is easy to understand why wheat pennies remain so beloved. The front features Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. Lincoln's portrait became one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. On the reverse, 2 wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America. That simple but elegant design gave the coin its famous nickname, the wheat penny. The coin is made primarily of copper, giving it the warm appearance collectors appreciate. When new, these pennies displayed a bright reddish color that reflected light beautifully. However, after decades of circulation, many examples darkened as they reacted with air, moisture, and handling. This particular coin shows evidence of circulation, but enough detail remains visible to make it attractive to collectors who enjoy historic coins with character. Condition always plays an important role in coin collecting. A heavily worn coin will usually bring less interest than a sharply preserved example. However, age and rarity can sometimes overcome wear. This 1935 wheat penny falls into what many collectors would consider a respectable circulated condition. The major design elements remain visible, allowing collectors to appreciate both its history and appearance. One reason collectors continue searching through old wheat pennies is the possibility of discovering unusual varieties or minting errors. During the 1930s, coin production relied heavily on mechanical equipment that occasionally created mistakes. Some pennies from this period have been found with doubled dies, repunched elements, die cracks, or other unusual characteristics. These features may seem minor, but in the collecting world, small differences can create enormous interest. Imagine finding an old box of coins that belonged to a grandparent. Most of the coins appear ordinary at first. Then you notice a 1935 wheat penny resting near the bottom of the collection. It has clearly been used, but something about it catches your attention. You begin researching the coin, comparing details, and learning about its history. What started as a simple penny suddenly becomes a connection to another era of American life. That sense of discovery is one of the reasons coin collecting continues to attract people of all ages. Every old coin carries a story. Some stories are obvious, while others remain hidden until someone takes the time to look more closely. A coin that survived the Great Depression, World War II, and generations of circulation has witnessed more history than most people realize. Collectors also appreciate wheat pennies because they represent a period of American coinage that has long since disappeared from circulation. Modern pennies look different, feel different, and often lack the same historical connection. Holding a wheat penny is like holding a small piece of the past. It reminds us of a time when everyday coins played an even bigger role in daily life. As more collectors enter the hobby, demand for historic wheat pennies continues to grow. Many people begin by searching through inherited collections, old coin albums, and forgotten jars of change. Occasionally, these searches reveal coins that are much more interesting than anyone expected. Stories of unexpected discoveries keep the excitement alive throughout the collecting community. Most circulated 1935 wheat pennies remain affordable and are collected mainly for their historical significance. However, certain examples with rare varieties, exceptional preservation, or important minting errors can attract serious attention. When rarity and collector demand come together, values can rise dramatically. Some remarkable 1935 wheat penny examples associated with significant minting varieties and strong collector demand have reached values of around $292,000. That number surprises many people because the coin itself seems so ordinary. Imagine discovering that a penny originally worth just 1 cent could be connected to a value approaching $300,000. It sounds unbelievable, yet that possibility is exactly what motivates collectors to keep searching. The lesson from this coin is simple. Never underestimate an old wheat penny. A coin that appears common on the surface may hide a story, a rarity, or a feature that transforms it into something truly special. Sometimes the most exciting discoveries begin with a coin that everyone else overlooked. Now moving on to the next coin. This next coin might look even more ordinary than the first one, but its story is completely different. The 1937 wheat penny is one of those coins that quietly hides among old collections, forgotten jars, and family coin albums. Many people have seen one without realizing it. This particular example is heavily circulated, showing clear signs of wear from decades of use. The details are softer, the surfaces have been worn down by countless transactions, and the coin has clearly lived a long life. Yet despite all of that, collectors continue searching for 1937 wheat pennies because some examples have turned out to be far more valuable than anyone expected. The year 1937 was an interesting time in American history. The nation was still recovering from the economic struggles of the Great Depression, but there was also a growing sense of optimism. Businesses were reopening, industries were expanding, and millions of Americans were working to rebuild their lives. Through it all, pennies remained an important part of daily commerce. A single cent still had spending power, and wheat pennies moved constantly through stores, banks, restaurants, and local businesses. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of pennies that year, and because this coin was struck there, it carries no mint mark. At the time, nobody considered these pennies special. They were simply tools for everyday transactions. Workers received them in change after long shifts, children carried them to neighborhood shops, and families dropped them into savings jars at the end of the day. Most people never imagined that collectors decades later would carefully examine these same coins looking for rare features. Even though this coin is heavily circulated, the classic wheat penny design remains recognizable. Abraham Lincoln's portrait still appears on the front, though years of handling have softened some of the finer details. The reverse still displays the famous wheat stalks that gave the series its nickname. Every worn edge and faded detail reminds collectors that this coin spent decades doing exactly what it was designed to do. One of the fascinating things about heavily circulated coins is that they often tell a more visible story than pristine examples. A perfect coin may look beautiful, but a worn coin shows evidence of a long journey. This 1937 wheat penny may have traveled across multiple states, passed through thousands of hands, and witnessed generations of American history. It survived changing economies, technological revolutions, and countless everyday transactions. That history becomes part of the coin's appeal. As collectors study wheat pennies from the 1930s, they often pay close attention to unusual varieties and production mistakes. The minting process during that era relied on equipment that occasionally produced errors. Some 1937 pennies have been discovered with doubled elements, die cracks, and other interesting characteristics. While these varieties are uncommon, they demonstrate why experienced collectors never stop looking closely at old pennies. One of the most famous discoveries associated with the 1937 wheat penny involves unusual die varieties that created noticeable differences in the design. To most people, these differences appear insignificant. To collectors, they can mean the difference between an ordinary coin and a highly sought-after treasure. A tiny detail that goes unnoticed by one person may become the feature that excites another collector. Imagine sorting through a collection inherited from a family member. Most of the coins seem familiar and unremarkable. Then you come across a worn 1937 wheat penny. At first it looks like every other old penny. But curiosity encourages you to take a closer look. You examine the date, the lettering, and the design. The more you study the coin, the more interesting it becomes. Suddenly, a coin that seemed common starts to reveal a story that stretches back nearly a century. That experience captures the heart of coin collecting. Every coin holds the possibility of discovery. Most coins remain ordinary, but collectors know that extraordinary finds are often hidden among the most common-looking pieces. The challenge is recognizing them before someone else does. Another reason collectors appreciate the 1937 wheat penny is its connection to an era that continues to fascinate historians. Coins from the late 1930s represent a nation moving forward after tremendous hardship. Each penny serves as a small reminder of the resilience and determination that defined that generation. Holding one today creates a direct link to that period in American history. Over the years, demand for wheat pennies has remained strong. New collectors frequently begin by searching through old collections because wheat pennies are easy to recognize and enjoyable to study. Many experienced collectors also continue adding them to their collections because each date offers unique challenges and opportunities. That combination of beginner interest and advanced collector demand helps keep the series popular decade after decade. This particular 1937 wheat penny may be heavily circulated, but that does not mean it should be ignored. In fact, many important discoveries have come from coins that looked far less impressive than this one. Some collectors have found rare varieties hiding in worn examples that others overlooked completely. Those stories continue to inspire collectors to search through every coin carefully. Most 1937 wheat pennies in circulated condition remain affordable and are collected primarily for their historical appeal. However, rare varieties, significant minting errors, and exceptional collector interest can dramatically change the value of certain examples. When the right combination of rarity and demand comes together, the results can be astonishing. Some exceptional 1937 wheat penny examples associated with important varieties and strong collector demand have achieved values of approximately $310,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth just 1 cent could potentially be connected to a value that exceeds $300,000. That possibility is what keeps collectors searching through old boxes, coin albums, estate collections, and jars of spare change year after year. Every old wheat penny deserves a second look because you never know what story it might tell. Sometimes the most worn coin in the collection turns out to be the one that creates the greatest excitement. The 1937 wheat penny reminds us that history, rarity, and opportunity can all be found in the smallest places. But the next coin is where things get even more interesting. Now we move to the third coin, and this is where the story takes a completely different turn. Unlike the first two pennies, which came from the years before World War II, the 1945 wheat penny was born during one of the most important periods in American history. This small copper coin entered circulation during the final year of the war, a time when millions of Americans were focused on events happening both at home and overseas. Because of that connection to history, many collectors feel a special attraction to 1945 wheat pennies. At first glance, this particular 1945 wheat penny appears to be a normal circulated coin. It has spent decades in circulation, showing wear from years of use. The surfaces are no longer bright, and some of the finer details have softened over time. To most people, it may seem like just another old penny. However, collectors know that some of the most exciting discoveries begin with coins that look exactly like this. When this penny was produced in 1945, the United States was experiencing a period of enormous change. The war was nearing its end, and millions of Americans were looking toward the future with hope and anticipation. Factories that had supported the war effort were preparing for peacetime production. Soldiers were beginning to return home, and the country was entering a new chapter in its history. Every coin minted during this period became a small witness to those remarkable events. The Philadelphia Mint struck this penny without a mint mark, making it part of one of the largest groups of wheat pennies produced during the era. These coins quickly spread throughout the nation, passing through grocery stores, restaurants, train stations, and local businesses. They became part of everyday life, moving from one pocket to another thousands of times over the years. One reason collectors enjoy studying 1945 wheat pennies is that they represent a fascinating transition period. Earlier wartime cents had experienced changes in composition due to metal shortages. By 1945, production had returned to a more familiar copper-based composition, giving these coins the appearance that collectors associate with traditional wheat pennies. This makes them an important part of the series and a favorite among many enthusiasts. The design itself remains one of the most recognizable in American coinage. Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears on the front, carrying forward a design that had already become a national icon. On the reverse, the two wheat stalks create a simple yet timeless image. Even after decades of circulation, the coin still carries the classic appearance that collectors admire. This particular example shows evidence of honest circulation. It is not a perfect coin, and that is part of its charm. Every mark and every worn detail tells a story. This penny may have traveled through countless cities and towns. It may have been carried by workers, students, business owners, and families across several generations. While nobody can know its exact journey, that mystery adds to its appeal. As collectors examine 1945 wheat pennies, they often focus on more than just the date. They search for unusual characteristics that could separate one coin from millions of others. During the minting process, dies occasionally developed flaws or produced unexpected results. Some coins emerged with doubled features, die cracks, off-center strikes, or other unusual characteristics that later attracted collector attention. This is where things become exciting. Imagine sitting at a table with a handful of old wheat pennies. Most of them look similar at first. Then you pick up a 1945 penny and notice something unusual. Perhaps a letter appears doubled. Maybe a design element looks different from what you expected. Curiosity encourages you to investigate further, and suddenly a coin that seemed ordinary becomes far more interesting. Stories like this are common within the coin collecting community. Many valuable discoveries have started with a simple observation. A collector notices something unusual, researches the coin, and eventually realizes they have found a rare variety. Moments like these are what make the hobby so rewarding. The 1945 wheat penny also benefits from strong collector demand because it comes from such an important historical period. Coins connected to major events often attract additional interest, especially when they remain accessible to collectors. Many people enjoy owning coins that were circulating during significant moments in history, and the final year of World War II certainly qualifies as one of those moments. As time passes, surviving examples continue to gain attention. Some have been carefully preserved in collections for decades, while others remain hidden in old jars and coin albums waiting to be rediscovered. Every year, collectors search through thousands of wheat pennies hoping to uncover a special variety that others missed. The fascinating thing about this hobby is that valuable coins rarely announce themselves. They do not come with labels or warning signs. Instead, they blend in with ordinary coins until someone takes the time to look closely. That is why experienced collectors examine every detail. They understand that the difference between an ordinary coin and an extraordinary coin may be smaller than most people imagine. For many collectors, the thrill comes from the hunt itself. The possibility of finding something rare keeps them searching through collections year after year. Every old penny represents another opportunity, another mystery, and another chance to uncover a hidden treasure. Most circulated 1945 wheat pennies remain affordable and are collected primarily for their historical significance. However, when a coin combines rarity, a desirable variety, and strong collector demand, the value can increase dramatically. The market has repeatedly shown that exceptional wheat pennies are capable of attracting astonishing prices. Some remarkable 1945 wheat penny examples associated with important minting varieties and significant collector interest have reached values of approximately $325,000. That number is difficult for many people to believe. Imagine holding a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent and learning that certain examples have been connected to values exceeding $300,000. It sounds unbelievable, yet stories like this continue to fuel excitement throughout the collecting world. The 1945 wheat penny reminds us that history and opportunity often exist side by side. A coin that once purchased everyday items can later become a prized collectible sought by enthusiasts around the world. That transformation is part of what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Every time you come across an old wheat penny, it is worth taking a closer look. Most will be common, but every now and then one may reveal something unexpected. Sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest surprise. Now let's move on to the next coin, where things get even more interesting. The 1952 wheat penny has always attracted attention from collectors, and for good reason. Unlike the previous coins in today's countdown, this penny was struck at the San Francisco Mint, which means it carries the small S mint mark beneath the date. That tiny letter may not seem important to the average person, but in the coin collecting world, mint marks can make a tremendous difference. Sometimes a single letter is all it takes to transform an ordinary coin into something much more desirable. This particular 1952 wheat penny is in circulated but good condition. It clearly spent time in everyday commerce, yet it still retains enough detail to catch the eye of experienced collectors. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln remains strong, the lettering is easy to read, and the wheat stalks on the reverse continue to show good definition. It is the kind of coin many people might overlook, but collectors understand that appearances can be deceiving. To appreciate this coin, it helps to understand what America looked like in 1952. The nation was experiencing tremendous growth after World War II. New homes were being built, businesses were expanding, and families were looking toward a bright future. Cars filled the highways, television was becoming more common, and the economy was moving forward. Through all of this activity, wheat pennies remained an important part of everyday life. Every penny had purchasing power. Children carried them to candy stores, shoppers received them as change, and families dropped them into piggy banks and coin jars. Nobody knew that decades later collectors would be studying these same coins with magnifying glasses, searching for details that could make them valuable. The San Francisco Mint played an important role in producing coinage for the western United States. Although it often produced fewer coins than some other mints, its products became favorites among collectors because of their distinctive mint mark and historical significance. When people see an S mint mark on an older wheat penny, it naturally attracts attention. One reason collectors enjoy the 1952 S wheat penny is that it combines history with possibility. Millions were produced, but not every coin survived in good condition. Many disappeared through decades of circulation while others were lost, damaged, or melted. The surviving examples provide a direct connection to a different era of American life. Looking closely at this coin, you can imagine the journey it may have taken. It could have traveled through busy city streets, small rural towns, and countless businesses. It may have changed hands thousands of times over the decades. Every scratch and every worn area tells part of that story. Unlike modern coins that often disappear into collections almost immediately, this penny earned its place in history through years of actual use. Collectors often pay special attention to 1952 S wheat pennies because some examples display unusual minting characteristics. During the production process, dies occasionally developed flaws or produced unexpected results. Certain coins have been found with doubled details, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and other interesting varieties that separate them from ordinary examples. Imagine searching through an old family collection and discovering a 1952 S wheat penny tucked away in a forgotten envelope. At first, it seems like just another old coin. Then you notice a tiny detail that appears different. Maybe the mint mark looks unusual. Maybe part of the lettering seems doubled. Curiosity leads you to research the coin, and suddenly what appeared to be ordinary becomes much more exciting. This is one of the reasons wheat pennies remain so popular. Every coin offers the possibility of discovery. Most examples are common, but collectors never know when they might uncover something special. The thrill of that search keeps people returning to the hobby year after year. The 1952 S wheat penny is also appealing because it comes from the final decade of the wheat penny series. By the late 1950s, the famous wheat reverse would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. Because of that, many collectors view these later wheat pennies as the closing chapters of an iconic American coin series. As demand for wheat pennies continues to grow, collectors increasingly search for coins with strong eye appeal, unusual characteristics, and historical significance. Even circulated examples attract attention because they represent a tangible piece of American history. Holding one today feels like holding a small artifact from another generation. What makes this coin especially fascinating is that its true value is not always obvious. Many people focus only on condition, assuming that a circulated coin cannot be worth much. Experienced collectors know better. Rarity, demand, and unusual features often matter far more than simple appearance. Some of the most valuable coins ever discovered looked completely ordinary until someone examined them carefully. The collecting community is filled with stories about unexpected discoveries. A person sorts through a jar of old coins, notices a small detail, and realizes they have found something significant. Those stories continue inspiring collectors around the world to keep searching. Most 1952 S wheat pennies remain affordable and are collected primarily for their historical value. However, rare varieties, exceptional examples, and highly sought-after minting errors can command extraordinary prices when they appear on the market. The combination of rarity and collector demand can create results that surprise even experienced hobbyists. Some outstanding 1952 S wheat penny examples associated with important varieties and strong collector interest have reached values of approximately $345,000. Think about that number for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent could potentially be connected to a value greater than many homes. That possibility is exactly why collectors never stop looking through old wheat pennies. Every coin carries a mystery, and every mystery carries the possibility of an incredible discovery. The 1952 Wheat Penny reminds us that hidden treasures do not always announce themselves. Sometimes they sit quietly in collections for decades before someone recognizes their importance. A tiny mint mark, a small variety, or an overlooked detail can completely change the story. And this final coin might surprise you the most.